What's up YouTube, and welcome to my Game Room Tour 2021 video. I made one of these about a year ago, but figured I'd go ahead and do an update, just kind of show you what's changed in the game room in the last year. Not a whole lot compared to the last video. I thought what I would do this year is go over kind of the whole collection, what's changed over the last year as far as quantity. So I did do some selling off of a few games that I just wasn't playing over the last year, but I've also added some to different systems as well. So I figure I'll go over kind of every system, console, arcade stuff, that kind of thing. But I'll mention like whether the collection has grown or shrunk over the last year and kind of what changed. So we'll start off here in my home arcade. I've still got my two Sega Astro City cabinets that are doing well. One is turned horizontally, one's turned vertically, and so that gives me kind of a easy way to play just about the whole JAMA library of games. Here I'm showing off Ninja Imaki on the vertical cabinet, one of my favorite Nichibutsu ninja action games. It's a really cool scrolling action game. And then we have the Berlin Wall on my horizontal cabinet. It's my most recent arcade PCB pickup over the last year, so thought I'd show that one as well. Just a cute single screen platformer. I've also got my dedicated Galaga 88 cabinet in this corner here. The screen still needs some love. I just haven't got around to it. Needs one of those cap kits. Wish I could find somebody local that could do that for me, but other than that, the board itself and the cabinet's still in good condition. Just needs some screen love to get that one back in shape. And then also show just kind of my PCB collection, how I've got it all sorted right now. It's not super organized. Try to keep everything in bubble wrap just for static purposes. But I do have it on the slided shelf, which makes it pretty easy to find things in this corner that I try to keep pretty dark just for the arcade cabinets. Overall, I did buy probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 new boards in the last year, which is actually a lot compared to the last few years. Spent a little bit more time looking for arcade boards on eBay and arcade forums, things like that. So overall, that collection actually increased in size a little bit, and I have some new boards that I like playing. Last thing arcade-wise is my dedicated Mappy cocktail cabinet. Very rare cabinet. Most of these you see are the stand-up one. The screen on this one is still in excellent shape. I think the story on this one was it sat in storage for a really long time, and then I picked it up at an arcade auction about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, I guess. So still enjoy playing this. It's one of my favorite arcade games, and kind of like the cocktail cabinet shape just for this corner. Doesn't take up nearly as much space as some of the dedicated ones, and especially a stand-up Mappy because it's a very large cabinet. So that is pretty much the extent of the arcade collection. We're going to move on to console games, and I figure I'll show you just kind of my console game setup. We're going to take a little tour through here on the floor so I can get you back to my main screen setup here. Here I am running my new Alesta collection for the PS4. This was a release that came out right around the holidays. And it has all of the Game Gear as well as Sega Master System Alesta arcade shooters, or not arcade shooters, but console shooters. And then with that collection, you get this very cool new Game Gear hardware Alesta 3. It's kind of a what-if game that never truly existed. So M2 created this game from scratch, really pushing off what the Game Gear hardware, I guess, could do. So this console setup hasn't really changed since the last video. I'll give you kind of the overview shot here. It is kind of dark in this corner, so you don't get a real good view of the consoles. And then I'll just do a quick walkthrough of what consoles are hooked up here. Just about everything as far as the retro consoles are running on RGB cables, and they're running through a XRGB a Micomsoft FrameRister upscaler device. Couldn't get the words out. And then as far as the consoles here, same things as I had last year. I've got my top loader NES with RGB mod. I've got my original Super Nintendo system, a GameCube with Game Boy Advance player adapter hooked up to it, and that's also running a HDMI cable adapter, and then the Wii. Down on the bottom here we have the original Xbox 360, and 2 fat PS2s. One of those is a US system and one is a Japanese system. So between the two of those, it really gives me the full library of Japanese and US PS1 and PS2 games, so that's kind of convenient for that. That's why I keep both of those hooked up. Everything's running through my receiver here. And we'll come over to this side and just show off the rest of the consoles. Again, I apologize, it's pretty dark in here. Got my Neo Geo CDZ system, which I use very frequently. I've got my Turbo Duo. It's been RGB modded as well as region modded, so I can play all the US and Japanese HuCard games as well as CD games. My original Sega Dreamcast, as well as my JVC XI, lets me play the Sega CD games as well as Genesis games. And then on the bottom we have my blue PS3 as well as my Sega Saturn, which also has been unlocked to play all region games as well. So that is primarily the systems I use to do my main console gaming. Oh, also my PS4 Pro on the top. I haven't bought any of the new systems that launched in the last few months. I'm not really sure if I'm in any rush to do so, but hopefully we'll be getting maybe one of those once the new software comes out that looks appealing. So that is kind of the console setup in here, and then we'll take another little quick tour, and we'll look at some game libraries here. So here are just some display boxes. I've got my Samba de Amigo maracas, some just random system boxes, PSP and Vita, a few systems, Game Boy Pocket, Color, Advance SP, and DS. And then on these racks is my complete North America Sega Dreamcast collection. Haven't really done a full system library view of that. Maybe I will in the coming year if anybody's interested in that, but I do have the complete set. As well as some Japanese Dreamcast games. Not a whole lot. This collection didn't really change because, like I said, it's complete. Really nothing I'm looking for on that one. And then on the bottom, we have my DS collection. And DS games I try to only buy if I can get them complete. It is getting a little tougher now. I will say in 2020 these are really drying up complete, and I've seen the prices on these jump up a lot. This collection stayed mostly the same. I've probably only bought like a handful more games, and I would say right now there's only a few more that I'd be interested in getting that I'm aware of. But I seem to still discover new DS games all the time that just kind of fell through the cracks. So may see that collection increase a little bit in the next year, but as of now it's pretty much is what it is. So then we'll move into the main game room here. This is where I keep all my retro systems and all that, and this is just kind of my secondary setup here. With this setup, I just have some of the older systems that I can't do RGB, or at least not currently, or just backup consoles just to play on this tube TV since I've had this CRT TV for a really long time. Right now we're playing a little Growl on Sega Genesis. Great Taito beat 'em up that you beat up the poachers, which, you know, is kind of a unique game premise. So as far as consoles in here, we have a secondary Sega Sports Dreamcast, just kind of like the black color on that, so I hooked up one of those in here. Got my Nintendo Virtual Boy that does work fully, and kind of use this shelf just to pull up a chair and then sit next to it and play it. Does hurt the eyes, of course, which they're kind of known for. Over here we have my original NES system and just some wires and stuff I need to clean up. I do have these old speakers in here that actually make things sound quite a bit better now that I got all that hooked up. On the top here we have my Sega CDX system with the Power, was it Power Bear, I think was the company that made it, stand for the 32X. So it's kind of a neat setup in this very compact footprint. You can play Genesis games, Sega CD games, and 32X games, all one power supply, and doesn't take up a whole lot of space. Plus you can play Sega Master System games through an adapter on this, which you can't do on the JVC XI, which is why I like the system and keep it around. So, got that going in the corner. Down here we just have another receiver, an old one, some switch boxes to run all these consoles through, nothing real fancy. I think most of them are just running S-Video at best. And then on the bottom we've got my original white PC Engine as well as my original Sega Master System system. That doesn't sound right, but I guess that's right. I still do keep that one hooked up because if you want to play the 3D games, you need the little card slot on it to play it, so it is handy for those, and I do like collecting those. And then just a few other systems over here. We have the N64, my secondary Super Nintendo, which is a Super Nintendo Mini, or SNES 2, whatever you want to call it. Got my original Atari 2600 on the bottom. I actually might swap that out in the coming months for a 7800 that I want to get modded to run a better signal. And then I've replaced my PS1, the little mini PS1 system, with a slim PS2 in here, which I use this now so I can play all the light gun games that require a CRT TV, and that's handy because now I can use it for PS1 and PS2 games. So I have made that switch in the last few months. Not sure if I ever mentioned that in another video. And then I guess we'll talk about games, because that's the main thing in this room. So we'll start in this corner here. We've got up at the top all of my complete in the box Game Gear games. Got quite a few others that are loose, but those are the ones I have complete. And then this is primarily all Sega Genesis stuff. So I've got a pretty good wall of Sega Genesis games. This collection I actually did make some tweaks to in the last year. I sold off a few that I just wasn't playing, mostly like movie licensed games. And then I upgraded some to complete in the box. So it really takes up about the same amount of space, but it has changed a little bit in the last year. And then down at the bottom we've got some loose carts, some 32X games, as well as Japanese Mega Drive games, kind of rounding out the shelf here. So, still one I actively like to collect, but I'm not really going as full steam as I was a few years ago. We'll move over to this wall. We've got some system boxes here for the Genesis CDX, as well as the 32X. Original Genesis system, which I have in a closet, not even hooked up. My original Xbox, and then the Gunslingers Deluxe packs for the Wii, which kind of leads into my Wii collection. This is a system that I keep saying I'm going to make a video on, and I just haven't got around to it. So maybe something to look forward to in the coming year. But I have a decent Wii collection, a lot of the weird and rare titles. I don't really know if rarity's even sorted itself out with that system as much as some of the others, but definitely has some good games on it. And then we have my, I should say the Wii collection pretty much was a stalemate last year, not a whole lot changed. We have my GameCube collection, which I would say I've made quite a few changes to. This is a system that really jumped up in price over the last year, and over the last summer I actually trimmed down some of my games that I just wasn't playing that were starting to jump up to like $100. Nothing critical, but stuff like Pokemon games that I just never really played, and saw the price hike and figured I better take advantage. Got a few GameCube games, as well as my loose Game Gear collection. Those are double stacked, so there's quite a few of those. And then rounding out this shelf is my Sega Master System collection. I would say I'm still actively collecting for that. There's quite a few games that I've added to my collection of last year, and chasing a subset on that's really been a thorn in my side that I'm looking forward to showing in a video once I complete it. I'm only one game away, so expect some more Master System content in the next year. Coming down here at the bottom, we have my loose Game Boy games, and for a while I was chasing a complete set of these. I've kind of backed off on it. I'm in a good position where I've got a lot of the rare and interesting stuff, but there's just a lot of commons that I don't really care to clog up the collection with. But these baseball card boxes actually do a really good job of sorting Game Boy games where you can flip through them easily, and it has them label facing out. And then I've got a few of the other ones in a binder for some reason, but don't have a great place to put these boxes, so I just kind of hide them under a chair here, but gets the job done. We'll come over to this side of the collection. This is a very active piece of the collection here, so we're going to look at PS1 games. On the top of the PS1 game rack is actually PS3 games, and I just recently moved these over here, pulled them off from a different shelf. They fit the space pretty well, and I have actually bought more PS3 games last year than I expected to. It's a system I never really had a whole ton of love for, so I've moved on and started to uncover some pretty neat stuff out there that I didn't know existed. So I've been buying some PS3 games. PS1 is obviously one of my major collecting focuses. If you watch my channel, I've done a lot of videos on PS1 stuff, so as you can kind of see, I've got a large collection of PS1 games. Really has slowed down a little bit in the last year just because I've got just about everything I want from the North American library. There's maybe a handful of others I've still got on my want list. But as you can see, a good solid, I don't know what that is, 7 shelves of PS1 games. I don't know how many that is, but definitely a system I like collecting for. I have moved my Japanese PS1 games into this rack, so that's all the white spine ones there. And I have actually bought quite a few more Japanese PS1 games in the last year. Plus there's a lot more that I'd like to get. They're just getting really expensive for some of the rare stuff. So I would expect to see more PS1 Japanese stuff in the next year. And then wrapping up the PS1 rack, we have all my long box titles. I'm in no way going for a full long box set. They just take up too much space, but I do have some of the exclusives that I wanted to keep. And just some of the ones that look cool with long box art down there. So then we move into this corner. I'll show you some of just the display stuff I have. A few more system boxes, Turbo Duo, PS TV, Sega Saturn, my original PS1 box, some of the Saturn accessories, and long boxes like the Netlink games as well as the Knights. and then a Chocobo bank that I've had since the PS1 days. Coming down here, we have my complete set of US Sega Saturn games. This has been a really fun collection to have. I finished it off a few years ago before these prices went absolutely crazy. So I wouldn't encourage someone to go for this set now, but I'm very happy to have it. This is a complete library of whatever it is, about 250 Sega Saturn games. And then on the bottom, we have a few more games. Obviously, Sega Saturn hasn't changed in the last year, just because I have got the set. I do have some Sega Saturn imports. Those have changed a little bit. I actually sold a few off this year, as well as Sega Mega CD, so the Japanese Sega CD games. I've actually bought a few of those this year. And then I have my long box TurboGrafx games that I really just don't have a better place to put, and they're separated from the rest of my TurboGrafx games. Don't really think there was any major changes to those this year. We'll come over and do another rack here. Got a couple collector edition boxes, big boxes for GunCon games, stuff like that, and Lethal Enforcers. This is my PS4 library, and I'm trying to keep it pretty trim. There's a few games actually from here I might sell in the next year. But PS4 obviously has pretty good library games. I've just kept it, very specific to stuff that I really think I'll play, so I don't get a bunch of clutter in my collection. But, I say that now, and there's a lot of PS4 games that are getting dirt cheap right now, so I'll probably buy some more in the next year. Got a few Virtual Boy games at the end of the shelf there, nothing too crazy. Most of those are actually loose. I wish they were complete, but they're pretty expensive now. And then we've got my Sega CD collection at the bottom here. Sega CD is one of my favorite systems to collect for. It's just I don't find hardly any of these in the wild anymore, unfortunately. And I've kind of stalled out on trying to get for a full set. But I really do have a lot of my favorites and things that I would want to collect for that system. So overall, that system stayed probably about the same over the last year. I bought maybe a couple more games, but nothing too crazy. Over here, we have the newest rack in my collection, and one thing I'm finding is that CD racks and DVD racks are getting really hard to find, especially new, because most people are moving away from physical media, but not realizing that for game collectors, this is the kind of stuff we want. So, been buying a lot of these just used off Craigslist and things like that along the way. Picked up this shelf a couple weeks ago and have moved some games into it just to kind of adjust the display. On top here we have my arcade marquee for X-Men vs. Street Fighter, one of my all-time favorite games. And down here I'll go through kind of the hodgepodge of games that are on this shelf. On the top we have my Neo Geo Pocket Color collection. Very one of my big focuses right now, and I have increased that collection over the last year and would expect to again in 2020 as I find more of those. I would like to go for the full set of those, and I'm getting pretty close. There's not a huge library in that system, of course. We have Neo Geo CD games, which I also bought a ton of last year. I would say all of those were bought last year, so kind of rounding the bend on that system. Not a ton more that I want to get, but would like to have a few more of those in my collection. Next, we've got TurboGrafx. TurboGrafx stuff is also really dried up, so all my TurboGrafx and Turbo Duo games, most of those I've had for a while. I probably bought a few of them last year, but nothing too crazy. And then followed by PC Engine games, all my imports for the PC Engine right below that. Again, they stayed about the same this year. Actually, I think I sold off a few that were kind of redundant with US releases or things that I had on other systems, so I've trimmed that down a little bit. And then the rest of this shelf is all of my complete-in-the-box Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. These are really hard to store. I don't know why. Just something about the shape of them makes them really weird. I had to put them in here, like, edge out to fit on this rack, and it's kind of tight, so I may not keep them here, but they're here for now. And overall, I bought a few more complete-in-the-box Game Boy games over the last year, but it hasn't really been a real heavy focus. It's just if I find them in the wild, I'll grab them. Coming over to this side, we've got some more display boxes, GameCube, PS2 Slim, PS2 Fat, Nintendo 64, as well as my original Wii box. And on this shelf, I've got probably a lot of the movement that happened last year. It happened most here. PS2 I actually made a lot of changes to in the last year. I bought a lot of stuff that I just somehow had missed, and then I also sold off some stuff that was just, again, kind of redundant from other systems. So PS2 has actually changed a lot. This is kind of what I wrapped up with. May still actually make some more changes. I see some other games on here that I'm not really going to play, so I might move some of those on. And then right below that is my PS2 imports. I actually got started collecting the import games before the US games, so I have quite a few good ones there. Some of those I would not replace, but overall I think I've trimmed that down a little bit, just with some of the ones that were redundant also on other systems. Next up, we've got PSP games, as well as PS Vita games. So I got all my portable PlayStation system games moved over to this rack. And Vita games I just didn't have a good home for until now, so it was actually helpful to get that readjusted and get them tucked into here. Don't have a huge collection for either one, but I've got a lot of the key titles, and really, overall, those haven't changed too much in the last year. Vita games I just don't think are ever going to get cheap, so I probably won't be bulk buying any of those anytime soon. We've got Microsoft Xbox games. I've owned an Xbox since 2002, I guess it was. So a lot of these are ones that I've owned for a really, really long time. I haven't changed the collection a whole lot. But some of those maybe I got in the last year. And the last thing on this rack is Xbox 360. And 360 I just don't have a ton of love for. It's an okay platform, but there are some cool exclusives. So overall that system stayed about the same in the last year. Over here in the corner is Game Boy Advance games that are complete in the box. And I have this nice IKEA rack. It's real narrow, it fits in this tight corner, but it's very tall, so it actually holds a decent amount of stuff. I actually went to get another one of these a couple weeks ago, and they've been discontinued, so RIP IKEA CD storage. They don't make anything to store CDs anymore, or DVDs even for that matter. So I'll kind of walk you, just scroll through these. Game Boy Advance, you know, again, a system I really only like to buy them if I can find them complete. And I've got a pretty decent collection. I've got some of the heavy hitters for that system as well, but most of them are stuff I bought a really long time ago when it came out. Just kind of scroll down through the rest of this. Again, this is a very tall rack, so not very wide, but holds a lot just for its height. And toward the bottom here, we have import Game Boy Advance games. So I've got a few of those that are also complete in the box. So then we'll slide over to this wall here. I'll try to give you a wide-angle shot. This is pretty much the background you see in most of my videos, is my NES collection. Really where it all started. I've got a basically complete NES set minus stadium events. And not a whole lot of changes have happened here just because I've been collecting this stuff for so long. But like to get games more complete when possible, so I've been kind of upgrading manuals and things like that, or upgrading to having the manual, I guess I should say, with a lot of these games. But very happy to have, you know, essentially the full NES set, and happy I got in at the right time before the stuff got too crazy. And then we'll come over here, and I'll show you just some more system boxes, primarily for my portable systems. Sorry, I'm getting kind of a glare there. So we've got portable boxes for like Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance SP, DS, Neo Geo Pocket Color, Japanese. I've got my Sega Nomad as well as my Sega Game Gears. There's also boxes for those. And then scrolling down here we have some Super Famicom games in the box, as well as my N64 collection. I'm not a huge N64 fan, but I do try to get those complete in the box. I do have most of those boxed, a few of them are loose. And then below that is, actually I would say I did increase N64 in the last year. It was a system I was hardly buying anything for, and then I found out there's a few other games I wanted to get, so I have bought quite a few of those recently. Below that is all my loose Super Nintendo carts, and I actually have been paring this down a little bit, and I might continue to do that in 2021. Just finding I don't play Super Nintendo very much. I've got all pretty much the heavy hitters, at least loose, but overall there's just some games that were kind of filler, so I've backed that off a little bit. I do have boxes for a lot of these, but they're tucked away in a closet, so I'm probably not going to show them in this video. But just for space purposes, I just keep them loose out on the shelf. So that's the Super Nintendo collection. We're kind of getting towards the end. We'll show off my NES boxes. Yes, I know they are displayed horribly, and I have added a few this year. Still haven't really found a good space-saving solution to display a few of these out there, but I have a really good selection of NES boxes. I'm not going for the full set of all of them, but definitely like collecting these when I can. So just kind of scroll down. Some of my better ones are on the rack here. Trying to get all the Taito ones I can. I've got a lot of the big ones there as well. Some more, and then that's all NES boxes. Over in the corner here, you really can't see it very well, is all my Atari carts. A few of them are complete, but most of those are just loose. I've got a few racks and things like that stacked on the floor. This is all my just accessories for the old systems, so I could show it, but it's nothing too exciting as it is right now. I need to get in here and reorganize everything. It's primarily just, like I said, some extra storage for light guns and extra controllers and weird accessories and stuff like that. And then I guess we'll wrap up the video with just a few other display pieces. I've got some stuff from the PS1 era here. These are all store displays from back when I worked in the game store during that time, and then I also keep some of my joysticks on here, so I've got like Dreamcast, Saturn joysticks, and a PS1 joystick behind all this stuff. And really that is where I'm at for the year 2021. Really looking forward to making additional content for you guys in the coming year. I seem to get a lot of requests for these game tour videos, so I figured I'd go ahead and make an update. Hopefully this helps, just kind of give you an idea what's in the collection as of 2021. And thank you very much for watching. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.